Hello, and welcome to the Knowledge Box. My name is Philip Corner, and today our topic is relationship roles. We have a special guest today. I am super honored to have her here. She is a psychologist, a counselor, a mother, a healer, Dr. Asia King. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Philip. We go way back, so it's a pleasure and an honor to be on your podcast.
Well, I appreciate you and the energy that you bring and the wonderful knowledge that you have taken the time to actually put together to help people. That's You are super awesome for dedicating yourself and your time for that.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I had myself on mute.
Well, let's go on ahead and see if we can help a couple of people today.
Right.
So today our topic is relationship roles, but to really get to that, um, the basis of relationships used to be gender roles. Do you believe that gender roles even exist right now, or can they exist in this society that we have?
Uh, yeah, absolutely. Gender roles absolutely exist right now. That hasn't gone away. I don't think it will ever go away because it is a form of classism. It's a way of being able to put people in categories. Women are supposed to be X, men are supposed to be Y, and that's how traditionally it has been, seen and played out. Now, does it make it necessarily right? I don't think there's any right or wrong to it, but I do think the way we emphasize and hold people to those gender roles is very restricting and can be very limiting on so many levels.
I, wow. I really did not think about the classism that it actually involves with that. Because you're right, depending on the male status is going to separate the woman depending on what activities she can be involved in, the class of people she can be around, and her status in society. That's that was a different. I am super glad you were here. That was awesome. Okay, so does that mean that it's certain preparation that men and women need to put in place before they can actually get into a relationship?
Um, I don't know. I mean, we are primed depending on who your parents are, depending on where you are geographically, depending on your community standards. A lot of people are um, prepped for what a woman is supposed to do and a man is supposed to do. So we're already primed a lot of times of our roles and what these roles mean within relationships. So women are supposed to be dainty and domesticated and really, nurturers and caretakers, and men are supposed to be hunters and gatherers and providers for their families. And these are the roles. So I think that we are primed from an early age, even from the toys our children are given, from the cartoons that we watch. A lot of Disney princesses are chasing the prince, Um, and so then we get this notion of what a man and a woman should be, but then become highly disappointed when it doesn't play out that way. So these are social constructs that we create. These are what we as a society say this is the way it should look, and then we play that out. And anybody that doesn't conform to those norms, then you're ostracized or you're ridiculed, or whatever the case may be. So for women who do construction, or don't believe or subscribe to having children or being married, or men who vice versa, they want to do hair, they want to do nails, or what, you know and so when we don't follow the norm, then that's what creates those barriers and biases because we're not fitting into the box. So you get into the relationship, and if both parties aren't agreeing that there is room to just be who you are as a person, whether you subscribe to gender roles or not, then there's going to be trouble if both parties aren't understanding that this is how we're going to approach the relationship. So
Now that I was actually thinking about that. That was something I was gonna get to a little bit later. Actually agreeing on what it is you're supposed to do in that relationship between those two people. They have to have an understanding of themselves and what they're willing to do with each other to be able to know how the relationship is supposed to grow. So with what you were saying, because as we've seen in society, there are a lot of, I'm just gonna say it, switches that have transpired over the past generations. We're seeing women becoming the more educated, the more um, higher class compared to the men. Men's progression is not as much as women have. Women are becoming um, the stronger part in some areas where men used to be the head uh, forerunners or they say gatekeepers of that area. Now it's the women. The women are now the supporters. The women are now becoming protectors due to, as we can say, transitions in society and the responsibility of supposed male responsibilities that a lot of women have had to incur, which has, as you stated earlier, transitioned a lot of women's attitudes on how they needed to survive and to maintain and to be able to keep themselves going with certain switches in society. So, with relationships, does that mean, because like you were saying, more men are becoming more inherent of emotions and of what they want to do, even if it is outside the norm? Is How does that coincide with relationships, as we were saying earlier, like finding that role for this person and for that person so that they can work together cohesively as a unit?
well, I think the woman's role, women, I think is very complicated because while women have not been respected, women have always been expected to still show up in the families. So I don't think that women are just now becoming heads and leaders. We've always been leaders in our home, whether it was caretaking for our children, whether it was caretaking for our partner or the house, or even when you think back, you know, further in what we're taught, women have always um, played an integral part in being, you know, in being leaders in their communities, in their families. Now, does that ever get recognized? No. But I don't think we ever started. I think we've always been. But that narrative you know, that narrative that we are um, not as powerful as men, you know, that's a false statement, because if that's the case, then men wouldn't be looking to us to be this certain thing if they didn't think we could do it. We've always done it, you know. um so I think when it comes to relationships, we are definitely being more vocal. We've always been vocal. We've always fought for our rights. We have always advocated for ourselves. It's always been an uphill battle to get our needs met. I mean, even now with the Roe versus Wade, and our reproductive rights, we're still fighting for control of our bodies and so that's always been there. So I think when you think about relationships, when women are entering into relationships, we're becoming more cautious and more aware of, how is this man going to respect my boundaries and being able to say no without any repercussions, um, and so we're entering into these relationships if we so choose one. I love how women are changing the narrative. I don't have to be married. I don't have to have kids. I don't have to have just one lover. I don't have to be with anybody. I don't have to be with a man. I don't have to be with a woman. I can just be with myself. I don't even have to be a woman. You know, whatever I know, whatever I know my humanness is calling me to be, I'm gonna follow that. And we're walking in that. And I think that's what's driving a lot of folks crazy, is that ability to control us is no longer happening. And so, when women are entering into relationships, especially when I'm talking to young women and even older women, we talk about, what are your expectations? What are your values, your goals, your morals, your principles, and how does this align with people that you bring into your life? So I think ultimately women have always been a driving force in society. We've always been there to stand with and beside our men. And so some men recognize it, some men don't, but I really believe that, you know, women are really taking hold of their destinies and really holding on to what they believe they need for themselves. And men who are open and understanding are now following the lead of women. So the tides have been shifting. You see more, I believe we're seeing more men uh, being able to advocate for us as well, So when it comes to relationships, I believe that both are able to lead, both are able to make decisions, but both have to be willing to advocate for each other on the greater good of the relationship. I hope that makes sense. I hope I answered the question.
You completely answered the question. By no means was I saying that women have not been there, because y'all are the backbone of society, period. Because if you've ever really noticed in any pictures or any videography of any movement that has transpired, women have always been the majority of the group there. In some occasions, the women have actually been leading the groups during these revolutionary times. So by no means, because I respect y'all fully and the complete power that y'all have. Y'all are the children's first teachers, first parents, first everything, doctors, the first nurses, the first child psychologists. Y'all are literally the future of society, and the way y'all are treated is going to determine how far society goes. So y'all are very implemental, but it's getting to a point now in society where y'all, the assertiveness and the level of y'all power is being more publicly viewed, which is, well, being more publicly given. And because we have to, now society has to accept the strength of women because of how, what all y'all have done, not just to maintain society, but to excel society. So now with it, that was more so what I was speaking towards. How more publicly y'all are being respected and giving y'all platform for the things that y'all have had to do. But you answered it completely because you were actually spot on. But I just wanted you to understand, yes, trust me, I respect y'all to the utmost fullest. Y'all are awesome. We could not do anything, be anything without y'all.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate it.
But as you were saying, now women have more expectations and are able to more voice what they expect in their relationships. So, with these expectations, do that create different roles for the men to have to fit into? Because We're having more established women now coming into relationships. It's not now mom is leaving grandmom and granddad house going to dad house now. Now we have women with $200,000 houses and are able to sustain, maintain, and grow on their own without needing any type of support from anybody. So, does that create different roles for men in relationships now?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that I think that I mean men do well individually too. But I think I do know that the support of a woman helps to push a man. I do know that. Um and whether and not even when we look at relationships as a therapist, I don't look at just the romantic or intimate side. I look at relationships in a holistic scope. So even if it's not your partner, your mom, your grandma, a teacher, a mentor, you know, people need people, period. People need people, period. So um I think that men aren't necessarily stepping up. I think they are utilizing the strength of the women that are around them. Um, and how does that lead them to be who they need to be? I mean, women, I mean, just to be clear, I said it before and I'll say it again, there's nothing wrong with gender. There's nothing wrong with how you identify. Each gender brings its own uniqueness, you know? Um, I think, I know that our higher power has wired us completely different. All of us can't be in the mindset of a man, and how men are created and designed just physiologically and psychologically. And everybody isn't, everybody can't be equipped to be designed like a woman physiologically and you know, psychologically. So having gender and what it means to have gender identity is not a bad thing because each one of us brings something wonderful and great and beautiful to the table. I think it's just a matter of men recognizing, what is that part of the woman that can bring the best out of them. So it's not that we're becoming successful and men are having to step up. Men who genuinely love or care about the women in their life want to try to match that. We become inspiration, just like they're an inspiration to us, you know? So we feed off of each other on our inspirations, on our goals and stuff. So, and that's the thing. I feel like the conversations that we usually have about men and women is just that there's this power struggle, that women make men and we force. It's genuine love and connection isn't about the forcing or the making of anybody. It's about a sincere desire to match interests and see how we can possibly get there together. And so I think when we can acknowledge the beauty of gender, but to fully put that in emphasis on that's who you are and that's what you do, and women do this and women do that, that limits us in our ability to be and experience the full human the full humanness of us. I mean, gender roles aren't set. They are not concrete. They're fluid. They're very fluid. We've got that one story that's circulating where it's a black man married a black or was supposed to marry a woman, and then he turned out that he identified that he enjoys the company of a man, left the woman, and now is with the man and supposedly in the same dress that the woman had or whatever. It's a story that's going around. big story. But he was
Right.
one moment, with a woman, and now he married a man. So that just goes to show that, and he dressed as a woman, and he has a strong feminine side to him. So, it's fluid, and that's okay. Because if he had stayed in that role, let's say it was back in the 1930s or 20s, or we were in another country, in some countries, you're dead. If you do it, switch from one to the, go from one to the, to fully be your true, authentic self, that's a freedom. And when we box ourselves in gender roles, it limits our freedom. And when we limit ourselves from being who we truly are, that's what creates the contention, the depression, and really more mental health issues, because there's no opportunity to expand who we are. I mean, I think the goal of being human is about fully exploring the limits of what life is about. And gender roles just kind of blocks you and barricades you into this box. I hope that answered the question.
It did. It did completely, and it really it really led me into um, a different thought that I was thinking about, because it it's more like, not that gender roles have died, but because of the evolution of society, is they've had to evolve into the relationship roles. Um, where, to me, my idea, this is just my idea. I'm one person. I'm just one man. I'm only speaking for one man. I'm not speaking for all men. To me, each person is blessed with different great abilities that make them the individual that they are. So if you allow both individuals to be great in whatever it is that they're great at, let them be great. Let them lead that part of the relationship that they're great at, because they're greater at it than you. And then, as long as y'all are able to compromise and you're able to lead where you're strong, both of y'all have strong points that will carry the relationship. And where both of y'all may be weak, then work together. That way, y'all are able to build that bond as a couple, to understand to work together as a unit and still respect each other's individuality. So, to me, when is a good point to actually find out those things? Because in the very beginning, you're still learning somebody, and sometimes you're still meeting the representative. Tell the truth. That's why it's so difficult out here to actually meet somebody, because you meet the representative for like the first month, sometimes less or longer. Just depends on the person and their durability. So, when is really the best time to have this true relationship building conversation of, hey, I'm strong here, you're strong there, and finding out the strength and weaknesses of, I guess, the relationship itself.
I mean, I think from the very beginning, you show up. I don't, you show up as your true, authentic self, you know? Um, yeah, people show their representative the first, usually they say about the first 3 or at most 6 months, but depending on who you are, you can go a little bit longer than that. But I think you should lead with who you are. Just lead genuinely, Um, and I encourage people a lot of times to live without fear. Live and lead without fear. People who genuinely love you or really are interested, they'll stick around. They will stick around. You don't have to chase, you don't have to convince, you don't have to sugarcoat. People who are genuinely interested in who you are and wanting to be with you, they're going to stick around to see what more there is to you, because you will never fully know somebody. You'll pick up on, regular habits and ideas and likes and dislikes, but people are always evolving and changing. And so within relationships, I think being your true authentic self from the get. That's why they say when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. And so when I'm talking or getting to know somebody, I'm pretty direct about who I am. I don't like this, I don't like, and not so much in your face, but if it just naturally comes up, I'm just gonna be clear. Because ultimately, relationships, what I have found is that relationships do well when both parties can respect the other's needs instead of trying to be something that you're not, because that can't hold up in itself. That just can't hold up. So lead with an authentic mindset. Be courageous enough that if they don't like you, they're going to walk away, but God, good riddance. And people who really genuinely, and there's somebody for everybody. There is somebody for everybody. My homegirl Candace Kemp told me that when we were in 7th grade. She said, my mama told me there's somebody for everybody. And I don't know why, but that just always stuck with me. Like, since 7th grade, when we had that conversation walking, that just always stuck with me. So to me, even if you don't like me, there's 5 other people who will. I just got to position myself around like-minded folks and different environments until that attraction draws to me. But I think just ultimately, just be who you are. Just be who you are. Who you are will resonate with somebody, and they're going to love it, and they're going to adore it, and they're going to help shape it and mold it.
That is the best answer. I mean, you're supposed to go into the situation being open, being honest. That's really the only way that you can build a true base with somebody. Um, that has been the problem with society nowadays because a lot of people are scared to be themselves because a lot of people are still hurt from the traumas and situations that have transpired throughout their lives, and they're scared to show those wounds to other people. So that creates a lot of mistrust and miscommunication. But your answer is spot on. You're really supposed to, from the jump, be you. I, I can't because honestly, we can start a whole nother conversation on how it is that we have so many unhealed people convincing themselves that they're healed because they found comfortability in being hurt instead of actually finding the healing. And I actually would love to come back and talk to you about that if, when we get the time together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We could definitely do that.
I appreciate you so much for this time. You have answered so many questions, and I hope that people are able to take in this information and actually understand easier and better ways to not just know yourself, but get yourself into a relationship that can be helpful for them.
Absolutely. And I think that is the ultimate goal. One thing that COVID has taught us is that people need people. We need relationships. As much as we get on each other's nerves, um, we need each other. And relationships matter. Rules without a relationship is dead. If we're ever going to get anywhere as a society, it's going to have to be built on understanding and being able to shake hands across the line. I don't care if you like Trump. I don't care if you love the Queen. I don't even care if you are part of the Brotherhood Aryan Nation. I don't care. Your beliefs, everybody is entitled to their beliefs, but what we're not entitled to is impeding on the rights of other people because of our beliefs. So when we talk about gender roles, we are talking about having the ideal of what women and men should be. That's fine. You can have your belief, but the second I don't fit that mold, are you going to stop me from living my fullest life? That's where we have a problem. Believe what you want to believe, but the second you try to stop me, That's where we have an issue. So I think ultimately relationships do matter. Healthy relationships matter. And we as a society have to make sure that we're nurturing them on all levels, because that's the only way that we're going to get ahead in the goals that we want as a society, which ultimately, not for all, but for most, is peace, love, and happiness.
I would hope that that would be the goal for everybody. And you are correct. When your beliefs are going to infringe on someone else's freedom, you're doing too much. And especially in a relationship, it's not about getting someone on and you're like, well, I like this part of them, but I'm going to change this part. That's not how relationships work, because a person, you should want whoever you are with to be the best version of themselves. That's why you got in the relationship with them, because you love who they were. So,
And I would say, the last bit, I would say at that moment, not who you can be. You got to love that person at that moment, in real time, in the present. We fall in love with potential. I can see who you can be. But sometimes we can see a future for folks and they don't even have the vision of it for themselves. So we fall in love with the vision, but you know, you get frustrated because the person just isn't walking in line. So whoever you are with, man, woman, child, grandma, whatever, you got to love them right then. And that's where it is. And you can help nurture as much as you can along the way, but each day presents a new issue with people, and you got to love them as they're going through the issues.
and that's beautiful. That's in a society, in the world, and in the community. Love is what we need, and we're supposed to be sharing every day. If everyone shared love with each other every day, I guarantee you we would not have as many issues as we're having right now. So I really am so thankful for all of your insight into this. I thank you for allowing us to enjoy your beautiful attention, and thank you. Hopefully, we can catch again and get a couple of more of these, because we did hit a couple of topics that I kind of wanted to expound on. I'm going to be honest with you, because you said a few things that really in society we have allowed to get away from us, that we have to get back in check. So,
Absolutely. Whenever you want to talk again, I am here. Thank you so much for having me.
thank you, and thank you for enjoying and helping create another episode of the Knowledge Box.
Sounds good. Thank you. Peace, y'all.